Good morning and welcome to the special meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner KATZ?
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER? President McCLAIN-HILL?
Present.
Commissioner McCGRAW?
Present.
Vice President NEEMAN Brady? 3 board members, a quorum is present. Madam President.
Good morning, everyone. This is our last board meeting of the year. It has been a very busy and very productive one. I look forward to some well-deserved rest for all of the folks who've worked here so very, very hard. So my hope is that everyone is looking forward to a good holiday period. I did want to make a brief comment about COP28. As you all know, I traveled along with a couple of other commission representatives to that meeting this past last month, or I guess this month, early this month, and wanted to underscore the department's central leadership in the area of not just focusing on our transition and electrification of the city and climate change and climate resiliency, but really singular place in the world around equity. We were met with tremendous interest. Our work as it relates to how we execute a transition in a way that serves all of our residents was met with great interest by all the participants that we had the opportunity to interact with. And we made a couple of major presentations on that particular topic. It's always interesting to leave the U.S. and to meet people that that play significant roles both here in the state and around the world, and to find them interested in learning more, interested in being helpful. When the Speaker of the California Assembly says, "I like what you're doing and want to know how we can be helpful," I think that's a pretty good endorsement of our work. This department has been a leader not only in its commitment around our 2035 goals, but is proud to be a leader in its commitment to enabling an actual, substantive, and real transition for the entire city of Los Angeles. We are the world's largest laboratory and are attempting to do something at scale that will set an example for everyone. I will say that one of the most interesting presentations was a presentation that was given by an individual who represented multiple countries in Africa. And he talked about the resistance to many of the technologies and many of the strategies that were being advanced by those nations. Those nations are poor. People do not have a lot of capacity or resilience, personal resilience. And as I listened, it was stunning to me the relationship between one's sense of personal vulnerability and one's difficulty with accommodating change. Many of us think about all of the things that we are suggesting, that we are seeking to empower, that we are doing as an agency as being great and representing tremendous, important advancement, technological and otherwise. And we wonder, or at least if we don't wonder, we can imagine why everyone wouldn't see it our way, wouldn't agree, wouldn't rush to embrace these wonderful advances in technology that are designed to ensure a more resilient, a safer, cleaner, healthier planet. So it was instructive to be reminded that there are people all over the globe and people in Los Angeles whose sense of personal vulnerability, whose lack of resources and resilience, whose absolute reliance on just making ends meet, doing what they know how to do, that those individuals don't necessarily see it our way. And that we all have an obligation to be sensitive to be, to meet them where they are, to help them to understand, to make it possible, to enable their participation in this tremendous undertaking that mankind is embarking upon. So, very proud to be a part of this department, incredibly proud of the work that this department does and has done, and really looking forward to the things that the department will do as we move toward 2024. With that, general public comment.
Public comment is now open. There are no public commenters at this time and no e-comments. Public comment is now closed.
Do we have a report and briefing by our general manager and chief engineer, Mr. Benjamin? Welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you, Board President, Commissioners. We have several news items here, so I'll start with something that was on the news on November 11th, the massive fire that we've seen under the San Bernardino Freeway 10. That was a horrible event that shut down the major artery of the city. But the point I want to make is during these events, the entire city family comes together and responds to events such as this. The LAPD, the fire department, and specifically our LADWP crews on the power side and on the water side, they were on the scene trying to assist the first responders and also making sure that our infrastructure is protected and that the first responders have the resources for them to get the job done. So on the power side, we had some damage to infrastructure. The crews restored power to the segments of the city that hasn't been affected by the event, and isolated the area and made sure that they are on standby to assist the crews that are on the scene. On the water side, as the fire department was responding to the event, our water crews did their job to make sure that the water pressure and the infrastructure is available for LAFD to have the resources that they need. And lastly, I want to thank the employees. There was a very quick communication from our emergency management system to make sure that those employees that can work remotely to stay off the roads and make sure they're protected and they can continue doing their job. So overall, it was an event that none of us wanted to see, but when you see the collaboration and the approach that the city has, this is something to be proud of and make sure that our employees came out of this thing safe, and we're proud of them and the employees that responded. The second item I have is more good news, is that on November 15th, J.D. Power Business Customer Satisfaction results were released, and I'm pleased to say that we ranked at the top of the band of the utilities that they report on. It was an extensive interview process. 17,000 plus customers were interviewed, and and we were ranked based on the quality, the power quality, our reliability, our price, billing, payment, our involvement with our communities, and the customers' contact and communication categories that we were ranked on. So if my friend at SMUD is listening, we are at the SMUD heels. So they ranked above us, but we're gonna push, and we're gonna climb up to number one here very quickly. So This is a good, friendly competition to make sure that our customers are at the core of everything that we do. So this is a good news, and I want to thank the employees and everybody that works very hard 24/7 to make sure that our customers are getting the top-notch service from us. So the third item, I want to just, again, on a positive note, and as our board president says, we're making some really, we're taking some leadership role, but I want to also say that everything that we're doing, or the heart of our thinking process is equity, and hence the, powering by equity is always something that we want to make sure that the policies and the programs that we do it has that principal driver for us to make sure that everybody's getting, the benefits of living in a city like ours. So on November 16, we announced a comprehensive plan to build and operate and maintain a citywide electric vehicle infrastructure, and this is something that we are planning on doing, but also, making sure that the underserved communities have a share of the infrastructure that we're putting out, so the benefits are distributed across the city. This is part of LADWP Powered by Equity initiative, which seeks to ensure that all customers can realize the full benefits of LA clean energy future that we are all aspiring to achieve. So Powered by Equity seeks equitable participation and outcome from every resident of this that want to benefit from the EV network, and we want to also put policies in place that provides rebates to our customers that want to get into the electric vehicle used market and buy used electric vehicles. So we have $2,500 to $4,000 rebates announced to customers participating in the Lifeline and Easy Save discount rate programs. And we are proudly leading way towards 100% renewable and doing it in a benefit that benefits our customers, and we're doing it the right way. And this piece is part of that effort that we're putting in. The fourth announcement, and this is I'm very proud of this. Again, leadership in the women's at the annual Women's Summit that took place on November 16th was a great gathering of many of our community leaders and our employees. More than 100 of our employees participated in this off-site event that was held at Conrad Hotel. And this was the opportunity for our employees to be embedded in the communities and share and connect and network and share experiences of leadership, of growth, of things that we all are addressing, as we have a workforce that is extremely forward-looking, and we are supportive of our workforce. This was an event that we took part of, and thank you for the commissioners. The board president was present there for supporting it, and our employees. I've heard nothing but positive feedback coming from everybody that showed up there, and it was an energizing event. So we're looking forward for the third year event coming up. I have two more recognition. And we want to do this a habit at board meetings, that we take a moment and recognize our employees and our hardworking organization, that works around the clock to make sure the entire city is served and everybody is safe. And with that, I want to invite Jonathan to have introduction to one of the crews that I was personally present in. I'm extremely proud of everything that they did at the filtration plant. So I'll give it to Jonathan to introduce.
Thank you, Aram. Well, good morning, Madam President and board members. We really appreciate that you all take a personal interest in all of our facilities, including visiting our facilities. And I think we have some attendance records, so you've actually attended some of our facilities more than once. But one of our critical facilities that's very valuable asset to us is our Los Angeles Aqueduct Filtration Plant. And what that plan allows us to do is basically treat on any given year about 65 to 80% of the water that we serve our customers. It's a multi-barrier treatment facility. It's a direct filtration, which means that particles can move from one end to the other end of the filter plant within 35 minutes. And what that means for our customers ultimately is lower treatment costs and lower maintenance costs. But like any valuable asset, we do have to do periodic maintenance on it, and there is an annual maintenance work that we're going to highlight for you today. Normally, this maintenance takes place in the February-March timeframe, which is when the water system demands are typically the lowest. But because of the historic snowpack and the very, very wet winter and managing all the aqueduct reservoirs, we had to postpone that by about 6 months. But even though it was postponed by 6 months, we still had some very, very successful outcomes. And I just wanted to bring up the team to kind of highlight some of that work that was done. I will introduce them, and then I think Steve Torres will be giving the presentation. So first of all, Steve Torres, Water Utility Superintendent from Water Operating. Okay. We also have Matt Williams, Waterworks Mechanics Supervisor. And we wanted to indulge in introducing all these folks just because of the really interdisciplinary nature of the work, and you'll see that in a second. Mario Diaz, Senior Storekeeper, Supply Chain. Helen Olivares, Managing Water Utility Engineer from Water Operating. Russell Wall, Managing Water Utility Engineer, Water Operating. Elisa Reynolds, Managing Water Utility Engineer, Water Operating. We have Adam Fonte, Electric Service Manager from Power. Al Carlos, Carpenter Supervisor from BCNM. I think he is not with us. We also have Jackie Ochoa, Water Utility Supervisor. She played an instrumental role. She cannot be with us. And last but not least, Mr. Ryan Quiroga, Emergency Appointment Water Treatment Supervisor, Chief Planning. Okay, so Steve, I'll invite you to the podium, and maybe you can show them some of the exciting work that you all performed during that 2-week shutdown.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
Before you start, can I just take a moment and just recognize Steve? I was present at the meeting that he was holding on every day before the crews hit the road and went out there, and I don't remember the content of the meeting, but I remember very much, which I will keep it till the day I die, is the passion and the care that Steve has to his crew. It's unquestionably one of the best I've ever seen, and the feeling that I felt that Steve had to the crew and their safety and everything, that's the part that I remember. And I want to recognize Steve for his leadership and everything that he's done to keep everybody safe and to get the job done in a way that I've never seen a professional group do this work. So
Thank you very much. Appreciate that coming from you, sir. Good morning, Madam Board President and honorable board members and executive management. Today I'm going to go over the Los Angeles Aqueduct Filtration Plant Maintenance Shutdown 2023. I'll go over some slides and talk about the work that we've completed. Okay, this is a front of the filtration plant, which is 30 years old, that banner says, and now it's 36 and a half years. I've been working there 36 and a half years. So I've been a DWP employee for over 36 years. Thanks. All right, so the plant started delivering water in November of 1986. It was commissioned on April 2nd, 1987. I was there for the commissioning celebration. It was a very nice celebration. The plant is 600 million gallons a day. Jonathan mentioned direct filtration plant. That has a process that excludes sedimentation, which I'll be discussing in a little bit. Go back to the next slide, please. No.
Russia,
Just hit the
previous slide, please.
page up, page up. All right. Yeah, so right there, the top right is the control room. That's where the brains of the plant is. We monitor the processes in the filtration plant, and we monitor the field stations. There's like 35 treatment techniques within the city boundaries. The influent on the bottom left is the influent channel, where the water is coming 335 miles away, and it's going to begin its journey through the treatment process. Coagulation is a step where we add chemicals and start clumping together the particles, the inorganics and organics, in preparation for flocculation and filtration. The next one there is the filter beds, and then the ultraviolet UV plant, Pankaj Parekh UV plant. And on the bottom there, we were the first nation to build the largest ozone and direct filtration plant back in 1987. Next slide. And right here, this is the submerged basin. So the pre-filter channel is where the water is coming into a filter bed. The slide that says filter bed, so it's water coming in. We measure the elevation of that water and to start getting the hydraulics in preparation for the filtration. So the next slide is, or the next one is filtration, and then again the inlet structure, and then after the fine screens is the inlet structure down screens of the downstream of the fine screens. And right below that is a channel that we're going to access in the pre-filter channel, where we have to put a ladder, ensure everybody's safety, and tie off the ladder to get down there safely. That's again going into the filters. We measure the media, ensure our filters are doing good through 1 year of operation. That's a dry filter, or excuse me, a dry inlet structure before the screens. So that's what it looks like when it's empty. And that's the discharge of the screen. So that's the other side of the screens, and where we start to drain all that water and preparing to get in and access. So the bottom row is preparing to access these basins that are 20 feet deep and full of water throughout the year. Here's a picture of the filter gallery, and you can see the lights. They kind of bend towards the end there. That was when the Northridge earthquake hit. I was on site that day, that morning actually, and still is a history right there of the lights. So when I see that, I get scared. I remember that. And the anniversary's coming up next month. Here's a crew that cleaned an ozone generator. We haven't opened an ozone generator since 2017. It doesn't require opening it on an annual basis, but we have new trainees there. We have lead operators, electrical guys there, instrument guys, and waterworks mechanics. So it takes a team to clean an ozone generator. To the left is the chlorine pipe trench. We are changing from original design, those cement blocks that cover the chlorine trenches. So in the middle is the piping that it covers, so we don't want to drop one of those heavy blocks on the piping. The piping is off, and right there we are inspecting the piping for corrosion. We're bringing out the corrosion group to do the inspection, and also the painters. And we do that for our risk management program. And the slide on the right is the new covers, trench plates, so we can access them very easily. Doesn't require a crane or rigging, so an operator can lift that open, do some inspections, and we can do a very easy inspection without all that equipment. So we do an annual inspection, but we can move into a semi-annual inspection. On December 5th, we had a chlorine leak at the filter plant. It was about 1 pound release, no injuries, but our goal was to look at the piping, inspect the piping to ensure we do not have any other leaks. So the slide on the left is the gaseous chlorine, and you can see how the threads on that threadlet are corroded. The middle slide is what the angle valve goes into these pipes, and we are inspecting that and ensuring we don't have any bad piping or threadlets. The one on the right is liquid chlorine. You can see how cleaner that is, but we did inspect it and take some measurements, and we're keeping a very close eye to avoid any chlorine leaks in the future. Next slide. And this is a video of the cascades coming down. You might drive by there and see the cascades coming down the hill, the water, and that's under the water. So we have a lot of algae growing under there. This year we couldn't get in there and do maintenance until the annual shutdown. So you can see all the debris, the solids that the group had to go in there and clean up. It took a lot of safety getting into that channel, and the slide on the right is a gentleman going down into the channel. Fall protection and is very imperative of going in there, and so you don't slip and fall and slide down. Next slide. Right here is the Mod 1 filter water conduit. We got into the filter water conduit to do the inspection. These are the tunnels that are underwater, and I wanted to get everybody trained and share this information and get the new employees into these basins, water conduit. Of course, we did inspection, but I wanted to, last year I had other basins that we got into. This year I got the new crew so they can see how it works underwater, under the submerged water. And the slide on the right is me coming out of the filter water conduit. You can see that corrosion. We cleaned that corrosion, so we hadn't been down there in a while, and we were able to get the corrosion group out there, do the cleaning, and do it within this 2 weeks allotment time. Next slide. Here's an ozone generator. So the middle slide, you can see we had some issues there, some arcing, and that slide on the left is the fuses. We call it the spider web cage, but that goes on top of there, and we had some issues. So we're going to be looking at our generators more often, opening them, cleaning them, and ensuring our infrastructure can last another 50 years. And that's all the slides, but you know, safety is a huge part of this shutdown. We plan 6 months in advance, and our goal is to make sure everybody is safe. We have all our equipment, and we're prepared and be able to do this job safely. We had like 302 work orders, maximal work orders, 290 tasks, and we did it very safely. And we're preparing for next year also. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
What a tremendous effort. Thank you for sharing.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no questions, but thank you so much for everything you and the team does to ensure a safe, clean drinking water supply and maintain this critical infrastructure for our city. It's really an impressive effort, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say, as a sort of multiple visitor of the facility, that it's good to see all y'all here. When I walked in, I thought, wait a minute, I know those people. So welcome downtown. And again, I want to echo the other commissioners' gratitude in the work that you do. I am never. It never ceases to amaze me how much skill and effort and commitment and time that it takes to ensure that we have the reliable and the durable infrastructure that the city has, and also how dangerous some of this work can be. I think I've said before, I've sat on boards where the members of the team and the staff were constantly lauded as heroes for the service that they provide the city. I am always astounded at the humility of the employees of the Department of Water and Power. The service that you provide to the city is critical. Without you, we would not be able to function. You do it at such a high level, and so many of you have given your entire careers to the service of this department and of the city of Los Angeles. We thank you very, very, very much. And Aram, thank you for bringing them to the boardroom. And I look forward to more presentations like this. We cannot highlight you all enough. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Madam Board President. I plan to see you in March with a tour, I believe. We're already working on that.
I'm there.
Thank you. Continuing the efforts of recognizing critical functions in our employees, the environmental, corporate environmental group is such a critical element of making sure that hundreds of our permits and our licenses that to operate both water and power systems are compliant, with the contracts that we've signed in, when we got those licenses. To make sure that we are compliant with every commitment that we've made. The corporate environmental group, led by Catherine Rubin and her staff, they do a tremendous job of making sure that we are doing everything possible to keep the water and power infrastructure compliant with all the commitments that we've made on those permits. So I want to invite Catherine to just come in and say a few words and actually recognize the employees of the corporate environmental group. About 6 months ago, we made an organizational alignment, and we've had a conversation about the support and the training and the equipment that this group has. So I think it had paid off. I see a lot of improvements in the group and the way they provide the services, and I'm very proud of them. So, Catherine.
Thank you, Aram. Good morning, Madam President and Chair and board members. My name is Catherine Rubin, Director of the Corporate Environmental Affairs Division, and I'm very excited today to be able to recognize some of our environmental lab staff. As you know, a year ago today, we were in the worst rain season, I think, ever. And we had a bit of a surprise. And so we did not have everything that we needed to be able to get done what we needed to get done. But I'm very happy to let you know that here we are 1 year ago later. We are pulling ourselves together and really want to recognize these people that in this last rain event that we had before the one that we're about to have was so well orchestrated and coordinated. And the lab, they're so resilient with everything going against them, not having a lab, but figuring out how to get all of their equipment together to get to every single site, which, as Aram was bringing up, we have quite a few, over 200 sites, to get out there and to be able to sample every single one within that rainstorm, within the time frame that they had to do it in. It was just amazing. And so I want to also have people understand that these lab folks, it's not the same day to day for them. They're not just sampling the same thing every day. It's a different situation all the time. And whether it's a transformer coming down in the middle of the night, or whether it's a main break, on top of that, they have to do all of the regulatory sampling, and then we have storm events. And so it's pretty amazing what this lab does. And I would like them to stand up as I call their names to be recognized today. I just want to also let you know that we do have the first of our trailers showing up today because of what happened a year ago. We're still working on pulling our lab together, getting our lab certification together so that we can do the in-house analyses that we used to do in-house. We're pulling that all together, and one of the trailers just showed up today. So the first person I'm going to call is still at Main Street setting up that trailer, and that's Larry Kerrigan. But I also want to recognize, and if they could please stand up, Casey Chung. Thanks. Jeremy Stoa. Albert Oganubi. Bob Shahanda. Bob's not here today. They're over Main Street working. Ray Reyes. Also at the Main Street. Okay, and Fang Zhang, also at Main Street. And then Ron Wright, if you would please stand up. So again, I also want to say thank you to the power system, to David Hansen and his team for helping us and pulling us together over the year. And again, just wanted to say thank you, and thank you, Aram, for the recognition.
Thank you for your leadership, Catherine. Yeah. Appreciate it. And that concludes my remarks, Board President.
I'd like to comment. I just also want to thank this team. I think John Oliver on Last Week Tonight had a great episode once on infrastructure where I think he very brilliantly, they made a movie trailer that was about like preventative maintenance, and it was dramatized, and it's like talking about these people whose job it is to make sure that nothing happens. And you know, the work of preventative maintenance, of regular maintenance, of compliance can be a little thankless in that way. You only make the news when something goes wrong, and nobody's really paying attention to that day in, day out, keeping us running, keeping us compliant work. And so I just want to take a moment to really say that we appreciate it and really thank your team for everything that you do, especially on the lab team. I've heard about the temporary facilities and everything that you've had to go through with the temporary labs. So I know that's not easy to make those kinds of adjustments, and appreciate that resilience. I also just wanted to share an anecdote. So as a commissioner, of course, many people bring us their concerns about the department, but like the president, I'm really very proud of this utility and our incredible leadership, both nationally and internationally. And I was at a holiday party last week, and someone introduced me and mentioned that I was commissioner for LADWP, and this resident who was there said, "I love LADWP." That's not always the response that we get. I know there are many people who feel that way, but they're not usually the ones, you know, calling the commissioner. So he proceeded to share this story about the DWP employee who came to his residence to help with net metering and how incredible they were, and then went on to say that he had lived in the districts and been under PG&E and Southern California Edison, not to call them out, but he had been under IOUs before, and just raving about DWP and how every utility should be made into a public utility. I mean, it was very heartwarming. So I just wanted to share that with you all in this time of recognizing our employees, and just say how really proud we are of this department and the work that you're doing every day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for that. And yeah, it's always great to hear people talk about how terrific you are. And I appreciate your sharing that with our team here. I guess I have one final piece. This too falls in that area of recognizing the efforts of our employees and our team. This is a video that we had prepared at the groundbreaking for a Project Powerhouse project. It took place, I think, the day that I returned back from Dubai, so maybe December 7th. This is a special groundbreaking in that it is the project that was first brought to my attention that caused me to get interested in how we might better support the development of affordable housing. And I simply want to say that this board passed Project Powerhouse in March. It has been an incredibly successful program. The department has embraced it in a very, very significant way. I know that there are teams in the power system that are working overtime all of the time to deliver on the both promise of the accelerated programs, on the development of upgraded infrastructure, but really on the promise and the delivery of shelter to our residents. And so at that particular groundbreaking, we did have one of the DWP crews available. So they went out, they took this this video, and I am always happy to document people's support for and appreciation for the work of our department. I do want to say in advance that I am far too often the face of this work. It is embarrassing and humbling, but I know, and I want you all to know, that this is always made possible by the efforts of the multitude of employees who actually are on the ground making it happen, and certainly the policies by the support and the vision of the entire Board of Commissioners. So I appreciate you all. And with that, if our team in the back could roll that video, that would be great.
The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, Joint LA City Council, President Pro Tem Marquise Harris Dawson, and SOLA on December 7th to break ground on the SOLA Impact Technology and Entertainment Center and Crenshaw Lofts. This site benefited from LADWP's Project Powerhouse initiative, which accelerates and more fairly distributes the cost of power infrastructure upgrades to boost 100% affordable housing and commercial developments citywide.
We plan to serve over 1,500 students every single year, young adults, elementary, high school, college-age students, and we anticipate opening the doors in early 2025.
This part of the city for years have suffered from underinvestment, so our power grid isn't quite what it needs to be to do fabulous things like the project we're talking about today. And usually it takes years and years and years to do that kind of upgrade. The developer reached out to me, I reached out to the board and CYNTHIA McCLAIN-HILL, and she said, I'm gonna go to work on it because the priority in this city is to get housing done near transit in the communities where people need it.
This is gonna be a 195 unit residential building. This has been an example of a true public-private partnership. The LADWP staff have been critical to making this project happen, and specifically Project Powerhouse, which was an initiative that LADWP undertook to ensure that development was done equitably across Los Angeles, and that has been a very important component of making Crenshaw Lofts possible.
That concludes our report and briefing by the General Manager and Chief Engineer, and certainly is a tremendously upbeat way to end the year, recognizing the fruit of the labor of so many folks across this department. We will move to introduction of motions for future consideration. I am not aware of anything, so we'll move on to comments by the ratepayer advocate. Dr. Pickle, do you have anything at this time?
Yes, I do. Comments on items L5 and L7. L5 speaks to the hopefully routine annual transfer from DWP to the city. It's approximately $245 million this year, but you need to be aware of other transfers that occur between city departments. There is not in the budget, but billed by DWP is the utility users tax. That was a touch over $450 million in 22-23. That's a 10 or 12% tax, depending on your category, on overall revenue or charges by DWP. And in addition to that, there are roughly routine charges of roughly $100 million recently for street damage restoration, city attorney, the Office of Public Accountability, and other city entities paid for by DWP. So just to have a feeling for the overall 800 million bundle that the city commits one way or another toward the general fund and related funds. Second item, 7 is about the Tarzana-Rinaldi line, and that's an important transmission enhancement and essential for maintaining regulatory compliance. There is already a signed notice of compliance on outsourcing some things, and it has, from my perspective, even with respect to the contingency in the program, a relatively minimal cost for that notice of compliance. I believe it's completely reasonable.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments for the ratepayer advocate at this time? Terrific, and we have both items 5 and item 7 have been called special, one by Commissioner KATZ and the other by Commissioner McCraw, so I assume there will be some additional presentation on both. Do we have any neighborhood impact reports?
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on any of the items on today's agenda.
Thank you so much. Then we will move to item H, items recommended for approval. Items L5, L7, L10, and L12 have been called special. That leaves items L1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11, and 13. Is there a motion to approve those items?
Yeah, motion to approve items 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 11, and 13.
I'll second.
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Then for management reports, I understand that the report 1 has been deferred. So we're looking now at number 2, which is a report on Measure W.
Okay, good morning, Commissioners. So I'm going to invite Ms. Sabrina Sui from the Water Resources Division, manager of our Water Resources portfolio, to come and give the presentation.
Good morning, Madam President and Board Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Sabrina Sue with the Water Resources Division. Thank you for the opportunity for an update of our efforts and the Safe Clean Water Program. I have roughly 15 slides to go through today, and it'll take about 10 minutes. I'll provide some needed context and background and explain how our stormwater capture program aligns and benefits the county's Safe Clean Water Program. Although the main focus of today's presentation is the Safe Clean Water Program, I'll detail certain aspects, including those on this slide, in the presentation. I'd like to begin with providing some background of our own stormwater capture program and the document that was a catalyst for it, the Stormwater Capture Master Plan. In 2015, the Stormwater Capture Master Plan was published and outlines our goals and strategies to implement stormwater capture projects and programs that will contribute to a more reliable and sustainable local water supply for the city. The master plan is our guiding document, and we have a goal of a 150,000 acre-feet of capture capacity by 2035. To achieve this goal, we'll need to engage cooperative partnerships within the city and regionally. We have already completed several projects that have contributed toward meeting this goal. The next slide shows some of those partnerships within the region that we have entered into and some of the projects that we have completed thus far. The projects on the left are dams and spreading grounds, which are considered centralized projects, where we typically partner with the LA County Flood Control District. The district will retain stormwater behind dams as storms pass, and will subsequently control release these flows and divert them into spreading grounds for groundwater recharge. The projects on the right are distributed projects, typically comprised of Green Street, where we partner with the Bureau of Sanitation and the Bureau of Engineering to mitigate local flooding, improve pedestrian access and vehicular traffic, while also beautifying the local community. These partnerships are really important for us to enable implementation of stormwater capture projects through their very many benefits. Although these projects were completed prior to the start of the Safe Clean Water program, we have initiated some efforts that you'll see on the next slide. The Safe Clean Water program is also known as Measure W, and this is a parcel-based tax on property owners within LA County. In the city of Los Angeles, voters overwhelmingly approved Measure W by 75%, and this was really important for this measure having been passed in 2018 because 2/3 majority vote was required for this to move forward. In the next slide, I'll detail how the funds are distributed. Approximately $285 million is collected annually through the parcel tax, and 50% of the collected money goes to a regional program, which is the competitive program in which projects are entered to receive funding. And for LADWP, most of our projects are located in the upper LA River watershed area, and about $38.3 million of the regional program are for that particular region. We focus our stormwater capture projects in this upper LA watershed due to its water rights, permeable soils, and existing pumping infrastructure, and frequent localized flooding, which is a great opportunity for us to find the multi-benefits within all these projects to benefit the city and water supply. The regional project is a competitive effort where these projects are scored, and the highest are scored with the more benefits that are implemented. These Safe Clean Water program objectives are listed here, and our projects align very nicely with these objectives as they both seek to incorporate multiple benefits. We have been able to capitalize on the common benefits and have success in the early rounds of the Safe Clean Water program. Thus far, we have submitted 9 projects in rounds 1, 2, and 3 of the Safe Clean Water program, and 7 of our projects that were submitted were approved for funding. There we go. Oh, maybe not. So I'll continue as this comes back up, but our 7 projects secured about $75 million of Safe Clean Water program funding, and we also received additional funding through Prop 1 for these 7 projects. The work that was done in partnership with the Bureau of Engineering really helped us submit these applications for this funding, and our project scored very high in this program, and we have continuously submitted high-scoring project applications. And on the next slide, you'll see the projects that are part of our stormwater capture program. And these projects are generally along areas that are by the 170 freeway. And aside from these program attributes listed on the slide, the opportunities I'd like to go over are the special locations that they are in. There is a flood control channel that is running adjacent to that 170 freeway, and you'll see that many of our parks that we submitted for are along this freeway. These locations facilitate the diversion of stormwater into subterranean stormwater capture facilities and galleries, and will subsequently support our efforts in recharging the San Fernando groundwater basin. These types of projects will assist us in meeting our master plan goal of capturing 150,000 acre-feet by 2035. Due to the nature of park projects, we wanted to ensure the park users were part of the redesign of their parks. We conducted extensive public outreach and engagement throughout the entire process, having over 45 community meetings with Spanish translations. We worked with our community partners, specifically Pacoima Beautiful and Urban Semillas, and they assisted us as grassroots organizations in reaching out to the community and also helped us with the Spanish translations during these meetings. This really played a crucial role in informing the design of the stormwater capture parks projects. And in the next slide, you'll see a screenshot of the surveys that the community members were able to submit to inform what they were most interested in the redesign of their parks. This is an example of a survey that was provided to the stakeholders and the residents, and the community survey feedback was incorporated into the designs that the Bureau of Engineering worked on. The next two slides will show you schematics of what was shown to the community members, and this is an example of the conceptual project layout for one of the parks in our program, the David M. Gonzalez Recreation Center. And you can see that some of those aspects that are survey identified as being very important, such as baseball fields and the like, are incorporated in this conceptual layout. And underneath this, you can see this cross-section of the infiltration galleries of our stormwater capture project, where we would be able to collect water from the storm drains, treat, and eventually infiltrate into the groundwater basin. This is a timeline update on our progress within this Safe Clean Water program. The first milestone shows the board-approved design agreement with the Bureau of Engineering, and the green milestones are associated with the Safe Clean Water program process and the applications and approvals for the projects. And this all leads us today, shown in red, prior to the implementation of our parks program. In the coming months, we'll be back to this board to seek approval to begin the process to receive construction bids and to begin construction on this project, on these projects. We've come a long way since the initial designs and funding applications, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I did want to communicate some challenges, especially implementation funding. When we first submitted our applications in 2019, the cost estimates were significantly lower than they are today. And these applications were submitted in earlier phases of design, and now that we are substantially complete with the designs, the cost estimates, the engineers' estimates are significantly higher, and there are some additional factors that increase these cost estimates, including the pandemic, inflation, supply chain issues, just to name a few. These issues are not only for our stormwater capture projects, but it is something that is seen throughout projects within LADWP and frankly just throughout the industry, where cost escalations have been quite high over the past few years. We are developing a funding plan to cover the funding shortfalls. This includes securing external funding from Measure W, additional regional partnerships, state and federal grants, and there are a few steps that we'd like to accomplish in the short term and the long term in order to move this program forward. Like I had just mentioned, we're working on developing an updated funding plan, and we are looking to also develop additional partnerships and agreements with partners that see the multi-beneficial aspects of our projects, and will continue to receive funding disbursements from the state, from the Safe Clean Water program as planned, and we'll continue to engage neighboring communities throughout the implementation of these projects, and we are looking to ensure that we are collaborating and developing additional funding requests for these programs, for these projects and the programs as we move forward. And these cooperative partnerships that we are looking to identify and to move forward with, we will come back to your board to seek approval for the implementation phase of these projects with a viable funding plan to fill any gaps. And this concludes my presentation, and there's more information that is available on this website right here, ladwp.com/parks, and I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, both. So thank you very much for this update. This work is really critical, and I think it'd be helpful to have a presentation to the board at a future date that really digs into the stormwater capture master plan in more detail, to really get a full picture of our progress in terms of implementation and meeting the goal. I think this work is really excellent, but I just want to emphasize that we need more of it and faster. And I recognize that construction costs are rising and there are funding challenges ahead, but this is really important to the water resilience of our city and our ability to respond and take advantage of future storms. So I hope to see this work grow significantly. So I'll just start with that comment, and it sounds like George may have a question as well, and then I might chime in.
Well, actually, to that point, and you may not be the right person to answer this, but I'll ask it anyway. In this stormwater capture master plan, we're almost halfway through this 20-year time period toward 150,000 acre feet per year of capture. Do you know where we are in terms of our percentage?
Yes, so the stormwater capture master plan goal started with a baseline of 64,000 acre feet, and we're now at approximately 83,000 acre feet of capture capacity. So there is still a bit to go, but we do have quite a few projects, such as the stormwater capture parks program that I just went through, and it's going to be difficult, but we believe that we're able to do it, especially with the support and the cooperative partnerships within the region.
So we do feel like we're on track to hit that by 2035?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And just because I'm not familiar with this process, we submitted 9 applications for Measure W funding. 7 of them were approved. What was the analysis on our 2 projects that didn't get approved?
For the 2 projects that were not approved, it does go through a committee for review and approval, and those 2, unfortunately, did not receive the support necessary to move forward, but luckily the 7 of those 9 projects did move forward. For the 2 that did not receive funding, we are actively seeking other external funding through the state or federal grant program, so every opportunity that we see, and if our projects comply with the requirements, then we are submitting to hopefully secure funding and move those forward as well.
And this is a technical question on the water treatment that happens, before the percolation back into the groundwater table. What does that treatment look like? Is it active? Is it passive? Is it something that, we're routinely maintaining? How complicated is it?
The treatment would definitely need to have maintenance required for it, and I don't have the details for that particular question at this time, but I'm happy to come back and present on that if you'd like.
Yeah, or just an email. That's out of my own curiosity, I think. Thank you for answering all those questions so capably. I know that probably the hardest part of this project is the work you have to do to coordinate all of these different interested, not just our partners in the city family, but also residents and park users and all of these, partnerships we have with nonprofit organizations and community-based partners. And so I know how hard that work is. So I know that, these 7 projects represent, I'm sure, thousands of hours of work to coordinate all of those people and to get them rowing in the same direction. So it's a tremendous effort. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be interested in meeting, it doesn't have to come back to the board necessarily, but I'd like to connect with the team also to see how these projects, as they're currently planned, might contribute to our city biodiversity goals. There's obviously a lot of intersection with parks, so it'd be great to learn a bit more about the landscaping and nature-based solutions that are planned. I was also curious on the stormwater side. I noticed some great partners here, but in addition to parks, another strong area for potential stormwater capture are the many transportation projects happening in the city. Can you speak to any collaborations on that side in terms of integrating stormwater capture into transportation?
Yes, we are looking at incorporating that whenever possible. So some of those additional regional partnerships would be with Caltrans and Metro to see if there are opportunities to see how our projects may align with theirs. So that is something that we're definitely working on to ensure that we are making the most out of these projects that we have and to see where our projects are aligned.
Great. Excellent. Well, I think for me, that's all today, but I would be interested in a more detailed update on the stormwater capture master plan in the future and really looking at from here to our goal, the planning that's taking place and the implementation strategies and kind of a more detailed look.
We'll be happy to return with a presentation on that.
Excellent. Excellent.
We'll make sure that that gets done in the first quarter, and thank you for your presentation. It was really quite, was well delivered and quite illuminating. I just want to echo Commissioner KATZ. We need to do more. We need to do it faster. So looking forward to understanding how we can achieve those objectives, even as we meet all of the other demands that I know are constantly being placed on the shoulders of the workforce here. So appreciate it. We have the next.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next report is the wildfire mitigation plan update, which is our our annual project update.
And I'm going to step out for just a moment. I know we only have a 3-person quorum here, but I'll tune into the presentation on my phone and I'll be right back. So
We
don't
actually
need
will
to
have
delay.
to pause the meeting
do you
until
have
you
to?
return. So why don't we take as a 10-minute or 15-minute break?
Just need to run to the restroom, so I'm
So
sorry.
why don't we,
5-minute break.
no. Yeah, why don't we take let's take 10 minutes and we'll be back to start this
Sorry about
presentation.
that.
Oh, not a problem at all. Thanks.
it before? I didn't think so. And what?
Please maintain silence for 20 seconds. We will resume momentarily. Please maintain silence for 20 seconds. We will resume momentarily. Thank you.
Board Secretary, would you please take the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Katz?
Present.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Present.
Commissioner McCraw?
Present.
3 board members, a quorum is present.
Terrific. Now we will resume the meeting, and we are on management report number 3, wildfire mitigation plan update. Gentlemen.
Presenting would be Bassam Abu Shakra, LADWP's Chief Compliance Officer, and a multidisciplinary team that includes regulatory compliance, power transmission distribution division, and our independent evaluator.
Terrific.
Bassam?
Good morning, Madam President and Board Commissioners. So we have a team doing the presentation today. Mr. Rakesh McKenzie, he's the Manager of Power Regulatory Compliance. Juan Sparza, he's the Assistant Director of Power Transmission and Distribution. And also we have Jeremy from DUDIC, third-party independent review of our wildfire mitigation plan. So we're going to go ahead and start with Mr. McKenzie. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bassam. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Madam President, fellow commissioners, and executive management. All right, this presentation is really to provide an annual update on LADWP's 2023 wildfire mitigation plan, as well as to share results from an independent evaluator's assessment of our 2023 plan. So I'm sure you've all seen this graphic before, but it's been since updated. The graphic shows the wildfire trends across the state for the past 7 years. The orange bars represent the acres burned, while the blue areas represent the number of wildfires of for the respective year. So over the last 3 years, as you could see, we've seen a decrease in both the acres burned and the number of wildfires. However, the number of wildfires across the state remain relatively high, and there still remains an increase. There still remains an ongoing risk of wildfires across the state, primarily driven by climate change. So since 2018, LADWP has worked collaboratively with the California Municipal Utilities Association and the Southern California Public Power Authority, CMUA and SCAPA, really just to share ideas on how we approach wildfire mitigation. We frequently participate with the CMUA and SCAPA members in their wildfire working group and their regulatory working groups weekly and bi-weekly. So it's very active, really to collaboratively address recommendations from the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board and, among other issues as they arise. For example, in 2021, we worked with the CMUA members to provide a number of coordinated responses to the advisory board. And in 2022, we participated in the CMUA workshop on how each utility is approaching unanticipated wildfire risk. But more recently, LADWP has fully participated in a series of working group meetings organized by the CMUA to bring together utility and industry representative to discuss several topics as they arise. So it was really a series of meetings recently where you would discuss metrics that we use to track our plan, vegetation management, asset management, grid design and system hardening, risk modeling, similar to what the IOUs are doing, and even climate change, really just to see how we can inform our wildfire mitigation plan. So across all of these series of meetings were excellent information sharing and best practices discussion to ensure all POUs are considering potential pathways to enhancing all aspects of our mitigation efforts. LEHRER's core wildfire mitigation plan team and several groups across the power system and the department, I should say, participated in these discussions to ensure our plan is well informed. As a result, numerous enhancements were made to our wildfire mitigation plan, especially with respect to metrics, as you'll see in future slides. So in response to the June 2022 submittal of LEHRER's wildfire mitigation plan, the California Wildfire Safety Advisory Board had issued their 2023 guidance advisory opinion in November of 2022, so late last year. And so the guidance advisory opinion included numerous commendations for LEHRER, as they have included over the years. I'll just share a few real quickly. So the advisory board appreciated LEHRER's inclusion of a context-setting template and statutory cross-reference tables. These were really intended to clarify LEHRER's profile or characteristics for the board, since they're looking at 50 different POU plans, and also really just to clearly show that how LEHRER is meeting all the state laws, specifically as you see in Senate Bill 901, which includes several measures that each POU needs to consider. So the advisory board really appreciated this. They're also impressed by a language that we included regarding LEHRER's workforce training, such as our qualified electrical worker training. They commended LEHRER for significant improvements in the description of our community outreach and public awareness. Among all of our local coordination, they found this to be very impressive. There were several other commendations, and we don't have all day, so overall, really just thanking LEHRER for continuing to make numerous updates to our plan and improvements to how it's disseminated, such as really looking for ways to share it with as much of our customers, adding it to Eastern Sierra website, on our website, and sharing it in publications as well. So, in addition to the commendations that the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board shared, the advisory opinion offered utility-specific and also generalized recommendations. So, and that's really recommendations for the 2023 plan updates that we have since completed. So I'll just quickly share some of the generalized updates here. They really encourage publicly owned utilities, POUs, to expand upon several topics, including really taking a closer look at our metrics development and evaluation processes, and leveraging independent evaluations like we're doing today, and adding more details around grid asset operations, inspections, considering risk assessment, climate change, increasing vegetation management, and expanding on our community communication and outreach. So LEHRER has, really actively evaluated these and addressed them, these recommendations throughout 2023 as we go through the update process, both working with CMUA, all the POU members, and frequently in coordination with LEHRER stakeholders. So it's been a really active process to make sure that we address all of these recommendations. And I'll also say that there was a recent update about 2 weeks ago on December 4th, where the advisory board released their 2024 advisory opinion. So it's a continuous effort, really in response to the plans that were submitted earlier this year. But unlike previous years, the advisory opinion does not offer utility-specific recommendations and commendations. Instead, this year, the advisory board is looking to perform individualized outreach. So they'll be coming out to the different POUs, really just to fully understand their mitigation activities and provide targeted feedback. So it's really just being more involved with the advisory board and really seeing how we can work with them to improve our plan moving forward. So we'll definitely, and we're excited and look forward to participating with the advisory board's outreach activities, really to help inform the updates for 2024 and beyond. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Juan Esparza to share more specific details on the updates to our plan.
Thank you, Rakesh. I'm going to go to slide number 6. This is the updates to the LEDWP's 2023 Wildfire Mitigation Plan. Several LEDWP's notable updates for 23 can be classified within 4 broad areas, which will be expanded upon in the next slides. They will be the Power System Reliability Program, the Wildfire Risks and Risk Drivers, Inspection and Maintenance, Wildfire Mitigation Plan Metrics. Slide 7, please. Okay, grid hardening and LEDWP service territory. This slide summarizes the asset replacement accomplishments of the Power System Reliability Program, or the PSRP, for fiscal year 21-22. 3,790 poles were replaced, 11,076 cross arms were replaced, and 1,156 transformers were also replaced. The conductor, we had 24.1 miles of conductors were replaced. The table also lists the PSRP replacement metrics for the previous 2 fiscal years, showing that performance is being maintained at a silver level in most categories. The exception is the conductor replacement, which saw a dramatic increase for fiscal year 21-22. Slide number 8 is the wildfire risk and risk drivers. The 23 comprehensive update also saw significant updates to the plan section on wildfire risk and risk drivers, including the addition of a visual aid known as a risk bow tie. LEDWP uses a risk bow tie to tie identified wildfire-related risks and potential impacts. The bow tie helps us to identify measures that aid in prevention or recovery from a wildfire hazard and associate the measures with the specific risks or impacts. From left to right, you can see the categories of identified risks, the controls in place to prevent those risks, and the measures LEDWP would take to mitigate or recover from the hazard to minimize any impact. Slide 9, please. Inspection and maintenance. LEDWP meets or exceeds the minimum inspection requirements provided in the CPUC General Order GO 165 and CPUC General Order 95 Rule 18. CPUC General Order 65 requires detailed inspection to be performed every 5 years. As noted in the slide, one significant update for the 23 is that beginning at the end of 22, LEDWP has increased the frequency of its detailed inspection cycles from every 5 years to every 3 years in the service territory. Slide 10. Please, thank you. Wildfire mitigation plan metrics. One of the most notable updates for 23 was to greatly expand upon the metrics that LEDWP uses to evaluate the plan's performance. The metrics can be classified into 4 categories. Number 1, external risk metrics include metrics that track the relative risks that impact LEDWP that are outside of LEDWP's control, including red flag warning days and red flag alert days. In addition, LEDWP has access to NOAA's climate data online data tool to obtain and utilize other external risk metrics for various locations in LEDWP's service territory. Number 2, outcome metrics measure outcomes that may be associated with an increased risk of utility-caused wildfires. LEDWP tracks the following outage information for its outcome metrics. A, distribution outages within the high fire threat districts. B, subtransmission outages within the high fire threat districts, and transmission outages also within the high fire transmission districts. LEDWP also tracks the respective causes associated with these outages. Number 3, reliability metrics. LEDWP also tracks its reliability performance indicators such as the system average interruption duration index, the SAIDI, and system average interruption frequency index known as the SAFE. These indicators track the average interruption data for each customer served and the number of interruptions that a customer would experience respectively. Tracking the SAIDI and SAFE values allows LEDWP to improve and ensure the resiliency of its grid. The last one, performance metrics, describes actions that are intended to reduce the risk of utility-caused wildfires. These performance metrics include inspection and vegetation management data on LEDWP's distribution and transmission system, as well as LEDWP's PSRP replacement metrics, which we covered in slide 3, which we covered 3 slides ago. The output of these performance metrics will be evaluated to determine potential improvements to LEDWP's construction standards and for infrastructural and operational needs. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So there's a good amount said about the metrics, and I know it was a lot, but it really was a good amount of effort throughout the year looking at what metrics we can capture, and how it will inform the wildfire mitigation plan. So we really spent some time focusing on that internally with our stakeholders. So in terms of next steps, of course, we had submitted our wildfire mitigation plan earlier this year in June to meet the July 1st deadline, which is a state mandate. And speaking of state mandate, Public Utilities Code 8387 does require us to also perform a comprehensive update and independent evaluation at least every 3 years. So, and that's really why we're here today, to present on that comprehensive update and the independent evaluation. So you'll see on the graphic here that this year was truly comprehensive in terms of the effort that went into it, and next year will be an incremental update where we build on the foundation that was set for this year. So following this meeting, the independent evaluator report will be published on our websites, LEWP.com and LEWPEasternSierra.com, where our customers are able to provide additional comments. Of course, they can provide comments throughout the year, but based on this meeting and what we submit, they'll be able to provide additional comment, and we encourage that so we can continue to improve the plan. It will also be submitted to the California Wildfire Safety Advisory Board. All feedback gathered this year, including, will be included in our internal priority list that we maintain to guide the revisions to our plan and associated policies, programs, standards, procedures. So the wildfire plan does touch on numerous internal, activities. And as we do each year, the department-wide wildfire mitigation plan committee will reconvene early next year to discuss the necessary revisions to the 2024 wildfire mitigation plan. And our core group meet bi-weekly, so we'll be tracking this to make sure that we, address all of the recommendations that we receive. During 2024 incremental update, we do intend to focus on several areas to continue to enhance all aspects of the wildfire mitigation plan. For instance, we'll continue to look at situational awareness and really more deeply and seeing how we're using new technology to improve information and data gathering, so we could be better informed of the wildfire conditions, and really improving our metrics as well. What Juan shared earlier, we're really just building out the foundation for metrics, and now it's really just building upon it. All the data that we've captured are over a certain time frame, and as we get more robust data, we could track metrics a lot better and get more reliable and confident insights. So that's one of the exciting goals that we're looking forward to for 2024. We're also looking to expand upon our customer awareness and communication, and we'll be clarifying several sections of the wildfire mitigation plan based on feedback from this board, the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board, independent evaluator, and all of our LEDWP stakeholders. So all of these efforts that we're talking about now will be done by July 1st of next year, as mandated, and then we'll be able to come back to the board back in 2024 to share all of the updates that we have made. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeremy, our independent evaluator for this time, to provide an update on your evaluation.
Thank you, and good morning all. My name is Jeremy Kahn. I'm a fire prevention planner for DUDEC. I prepared the independent evaluators report for the 2023 LAWDP wildfire mitigation plan. Next slide, please. Or can you actually go to 2? Thank you. As mentioned previously, Public Utility Code, PUC 8387, provides the requirements for a wildfire mitigation plan, including subsection C here, which requires the publicly owned utility to have their wildfire mitigation plan evaluated by a qualified independent evaluator. Next slide, please. DUDEC, in particular the group that I work with, has performed wildfire mitigation plan reviews for more than 15 public utilities in the state of California. We've also assisted several public utilities with the revisions and preparations of their wildfire mitigation plans. Although the Public Utility Code does not list a specific qualification for a qualified independent evaluator, we feel that we are well qualified based on our past experience. Next slide, please. So what is my role? What do I do when I perform these independent evaluations? The most basic answer is I look to see that the statutory requirements are met. PUC 8387 has 17 unique items that each wildfire mitigation plan must contain. But beyond that, part of the idea, or part of my understanding of comprehensiveness is ensuring that the wildfire mitigation plan accurately describes the relevant risks and risk drivers in the utility service territory, whether it describes that they have wildfire mitigation plans and strategies that address each one of these risks and risk drivers, and finally, that they have metrics that allow them to track whether or not these wildfire prevention strategies are actually effective at reducing wildfire risk. Next slide, please. I'm pleased to report to you all and to everyone in the audience as well that LADWP's 2023 Wildfire Mitigation Plan is a comprehensive and well-written wildfire mitigation plan. Again, on the most basic level, it meets all the statutory requirements in that it has all the items listed in PUC 8387. On a more detailed level, LADWP has put a lot of effort into preparing a detailed description of their vegetation management practices and their inspection programs, which are probably two of the most important programs for managing wildfire risk. They have also chosen a good variety of metrics. As the independent evaluator, it's beneficial to be able to see what the utility is accomplishing on an annual basis as far as wildfire prevention strategies, be it poles inspected or trees trimmed, and see directly how that relates to outcome events like wires down, foreign object contact with wires, or even ignition events themselves. The plan is well written. It explains everything straight out. It's in details such as the hardening efforts they've done this year are actually included in the plan. That's something I typically at the request from utilities. So in general, it's a comprehensive, it's a well-written plan. And I didn't have any major recommendations for updating the plan for the incremental revision. Most of my recommendations were relatively minor. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions about my independent evaluator's report.
Thank you. This concludes our presentation.
Questions or comments?
I do have a few questions. Thank you. It's excellent to see the independent evaluation of this important plan. I have a couple questions. One on the inspections shifting from 5-year to 3-year, that's really good to hear. We've spent a lot of time on this board looking into pole repair and making sure that what is identified in inspections gets addressed. Is there any prioritization of the pole trouble tickets based on fire hazard?
You mean as far as
Like whether it's a high fire area or not, is there any prioritization of how quickly tickets are addressed that are identified during inspection?
Or
Yeah, I could.
the question, part of this is what is the intersection between all of the work that has been done regarding regarding our general inspection program and the resulting fix-it tickets and the fire mitigation plan? How do those two things overlap?
If I may start that discussion, priority 2A and priority 2B are two priority classes that address high fire threat zones, and we report that on a quarterly basis to the board on the achievements that we're making. Yes, they are prioritized, and we have two specific categories for them.
Great, thank you. I thought that they were, but I wanted to make sure to clarify. My other question is, I noticed that there was a lot of fire planning, best practice sharing, collaboration, CMUA in the munis, but obviously there's been some very significant fires in IOU territories and a lot of work happening there. Is there any sort of statewide initiative that we're part of that is both munis and IOUs, public and private utilities working together on this? I was surprised not to see that.
That's a good question. I'll start from the regulatory perspective. We're really involved in, all of the working groups across the state, and I would say the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board, as being elected by the governor, they really capture and review all the plans for the utilities across the state, and really try to identify best practice for each utilities. So we engage in all of the meetings that the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board hosts, and of course, they provide their recommendations to OEIS, who determine whether or not to approve IOU's plans. So they're fully involved, and our engagement with the IUs are typically through the Wildfire Safety Advisory Board.
Great, thank you. Those are my questions for now.
Any other questions or comments?
One comment.
Sir.
When talking about metrics, you included SAIDI and SAFE. One metric that DWP has not done well with in terms of major events has been the KD metric. If you divide SAIDI by SAFE, you get the KD index, which is, if you are out, what is your expected time of restoration? And in major events, in 2016, why we were better than Verna, Truckee, and the city of Shasta, but every other utility in the state of California had a better record than we did at that point in time. And that, I think, indicates not a reliability problem, but a resilience problem. So I think it would be important to report that on a regular basis. And I believe the department has the ability to rate individual circuits on SAIDI, SAFE, and KD. And I think it would be valuable to include that in some of the overall metrics.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely well taken. We could do that.
If I may respond to that, yes, we are including KD as part of our strategic planning for power system, and we are in the process of developing the targets for next year and the following years. Thank you.
All right, anything else?
Dr. Pickle or
go
others,
ahead.
do we have a sense of why our KD would be, forgive me, I don't know the index, so low or so high?
Staffing.
Staffing, okay. That's constantly something we're hearing in this room.
Yes. Just one more comment in the detailed plan. I just wanted to say I was glad to see strong integration with the water system and coordination with water and fire response, as well as coordination on some of the more challenging vegetation management with our fire partners in county and city. So really appreciated the detailed report. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate the presentation. It was very well done. I'm also very interested in and pleased to see the department looking at how to better integrate technology in the overall inspection and to expand our capacity to put eyes on and to review and understand what's happening on the ground. So that's terrific. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks all.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
No longer a novice to the board. So with that, we will move to, we've got filed items. Are there any questions or comments regarding any of the filed items? Seeing none, move to item K. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for November 14th?
Move to approve the minutes from November 14th.
Second?
Commissioner Katz?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. So we will now move to item L5. That item is being called special by Commissioner Katz, and it relates to the
transfer.
City transfer. Is there a presentation that you'd like?
No, actually, I called the item with questions that relate to the history of the transfer and the amount, but I was able to dig in and answer my own questions. So unless other commissioners have questions, I'm happy to keep the meeting moving along.
Are there any questions?
None from me.
Then I'd like to move approval of the transfer.
Second.
Commissioner Katz?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Then we can go to L7, and that's being called special by Commissioner McGraw. Sir.
A presentation and some questions would be really helpful.
Okay. Presenting Mr. Eric Montag from the Capital Projects and Facilities Engineering Division. And Jada Watt, one of the managers in the major projects section.
And having seen this presentation last week, I know they're ready. Gentlemen.
Good morning, Madam President, honorable commissioners, and esteemed leadership. My name is Eric Montag. I'm the Assistant Director over the Power Capital Project and Facility Engineering Group. This group manages over $3 billion worth of capital projects for infrastructure. Some of the more known projects that we have in our hopper are Scattergood modernization and the JFB modernization of this building. With me is Jad Awad. He was the project manager and newly minted manager within our group. He will be presenting to you per your request and answer all questions. Before I turn it over to him, I would like to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday. This is a great time to spend with family and kind of recharge it. So I wish you all a really good holiday time. So with that, I will turn it over to Jad.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Good morning, Madam President and board commissioners. So this project is for the Rinaldi-Tarzana transmission lines 1 and 2 project. So the project, give you a project background a little bit. So those 2 lines are 230 kV. The lines are almost 10 miles. They are exclusively in the San Fernando Valley between Rinaldi Receiving Station and then Tarzana Receiving Station, and they'll pass through Northridge Receiving Station. They were installed between the 1950s and 1970s. So why we're doing this project? Our transmission assessment study determined that we need to do those 2 lines experience emergency overload conditions during heavy weather load events. So those events are regarded as NURIT violations that DRP must mitigate, so this way we remain in compliance. So as load as forecasted to grow in the future due to increase in EV demands, so the overload conditions will increase. So in order to mitigate that, we're gonna increase the capacity of those 2 lines by almost 300 MVA per line. So the agreement is with Barnard Construction Company. It's an EPC contract. It's for $68.6 million, including 25% contingency, not to exceed 3 years. The scope of the work, the EPC contractor will procure and install everything related to the 230 kV transmission lines, from the conductor to the materials and then to the insulators. They're going to review and verify the DRP's preliminary design that we provided to them. They're going to procure the steel and perform the tower raising, demolition and erection of activities for the towers that we're modifying. The scope of work also includes training in tower and line modeling software to our engineers and construction safety. Our DRP crews will do all the work related to the new tower foundations.
Would you say that one more time, please?
Our DRP crews will do all the work related to the tower foundations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this just give you a timeline for the work when it's going to be submitted. So we're anticipating to issue the NTP next month, and then we're going to start construction in April of next year, and then the final substantial completion, where the lines will be energized, is anticipated in April 15, 2025. And the final completion will be coming in October of 2025. So outreach, what did we do in order to get the bids for this? So we did send the notifications to 20 different prime contractors. So this went out directly from our supply chain. And then a link to the RFP documents was uploaded to RAMP LA. And then the table below will give you how many notifications were done, how many people viewed it, and how many downloads were done. We did have the mandatory pre-proposal meeting early this year, which was January 9. We did have 35 total attendees representing 18 companies. 10 prime contractors attended, and then the 5 highlighted on the top, they are the one who submitted bids. Supplier diversity, per the contract, the requirement is 15%. Barnard is committed to 15.1%. And this is just give you a breakdown on the 15%, where it came from, 15.1%. So for SBE, they're committed to 13.34%. And this is the list of all the companies they're going to hire. And then for DVBE, it's 1.76%. And this is the list of the companies that Barnard will hire as well. For WBE is 13%, And those are the three companies that they're going to be working with us. And then for OBE is almost 6%. And then we do have 5 companies that are going to be working with us.
Can I ask a quick question there?
Sure.
Are any of those the same companies? I mean,
Yes,
are these?
yes, because
so there's
they
some
qualify for
overlap,
both,
like
yes.
some are, okay.
Yes. And this project is part of the project labor agreement. And then we're going to be working closely with BCA office from the city in order to make sure it gets implemented. And Barnard is on board to hire the skilled staff from those zip codes, especially from Tier 1 and Tier 2. If they cannot get the people from Tier 1 and Tier 2, they'll move on to Tier 3. And Barnard anticipates they're going to hire most of their people from both of those tiers. Any question?
I have a few. So obviously this is a almost $70 million outside bid. It's very important work to cure this NERC violation. You know, in our board letter, it was also made really clear that these sort of system improvements are really important to stay on track for LA 100 goals, which obviously everyone on this board and this institution are really dedicated to meeting by 2035. I'm wondering about the balance of work performed inside and outside of the organization. Every time a big contract like this comes along, I think it's important for us to ask the question, you know, as we head out to external bid with a construction company for this, what are we doing to bring some of those skills in-house? What went into the recommendation that we, you know, bid this out and pull in an external contractor? You know, was it capacity? Is it a lack of training or skilled expertise on our own side? If so, what are we doing to bring those skills in-house? You mentioned in your presentation that the contract includes training in tower and line modeling software and tower and line construction safety. Maybe those are some of the skills we're trying to bring in-house. But could you just elucidate some more for me the sort of decision-making process on why we went to external bid for this and what we're doing?
Excellent question. All our projects start from planning. So our planning division vets these out, and they look at the type of work, our internal skill set, and they determine whether this will be a contract or whether it will be in-house. Some of the criteria is the size, the frequency. So I mentioned we are doing the scattergood modernization. That's a one-off project. We probably will do that one time, if we're lucky to, and that's it. So to ramp up that skilled workforce, you end up with when the project's done, what do you do with all that skill set? Now, on transmission projects, it's a little more unique because it's core work that we consider core work. Same with station job, electrical stations. The board, we will never, at least as long as I'm here, you'll never have a board contract for a electrical station job. That is our core work. Transmission, we try to give it to our workforce to do, but they have to determine between the maintenance and day-to-day work that they have to perform, especially with the PSRP and all that, all the support they do there versus the size of the project of transmission. They can do knockdowns, they can do emergency work, that couple towers here or there, but when you start to get into the miles of transmission line, it creates a larger caliber of logistics and resource dedication, and not just for our linemen, but for our equipment and contracts to support those equipment, material, whatnot. So again, in planning, they vet this out, and through that, we will vet it through our union partners through an NOC process, and we will do some negotiations on how, if we're going to contract, how are we going to mitigate the long-term aspects of taking this work to contract. I will emphasize there is a lot of work coming. This group that I manage, we were one section 10 years ago. We're 3 sections now. We've tripled, and our volume of work has tripled. And it's not just in contract work, but it's also in the work that the department does in its core business too. So there's a lot coming through the pipeline, and we're just one avenue to try to help relieve some of that pressure. Does that answer your question, sir?
Well, yes, and it also sparks a couple new ones. I think along the same line of thinking, I also look at this as something we're going to have to do frequently and even more frequently to meet our LA 100 goals in the future and its core business. And so I know we're having this ongoing conversation about the balance of work that we do internally versus externally. And so maybe this is a conversation for our executive management too, Mr. Zwedu or Mr. Benjamin, but are we satisfied where we are currently with our ability to do some of this transmission work internally versus externally? Are we making adjustments to that percentage of the work?
Just to answer your question directly, the answer is no. I'm not satisfied, and I'll tell you why. Because these expertise, as Mr. Montag mentioned, these are our core functions. When it comes to transmission towers, high voltage transmission towers, the expertise that goes along with that, that's our core function. And some of these projects are perfect for exercising, the capacity, the knowledge, the modeling, the equipment, the training. This is about 7 miles of transmission construction. That this is my personal opinion, that these are projects that are enough, it's a right size for us to exercise our capability and readiness, because at some point our crews need to deploy and repair transmission lines when it comes to disasters, and having that capacity is something that we need to build out. I personally am not satisfied having everything go contract because we are doing other things in this case. This is a time issue right now. We have to go this direction. But what I would like to do is, as we get more equipment, get more training, and get more readiness, these are basically great size projects for us to exercise all our capacities and making sure that we are totally ready to respond to bigger projects.
So on that.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well, on that topic, I was considering requesting a presentation anyway in the new year. So I think it'd be really helpful to have a more detailed presentation on the human resource planning for LA 100. I think we have major staffing challenges ahead of us, and you may have been thinking the same thing, Board President. But yeah, I think it'd be really good to look at this holistically and how we're going to staff up internally to address the challenges.
A couple of things on that point. We've had pretty detailed presentations around integrated human resource plans, particularly for power. We've kind of danced around, talked around, and dealt with these issues on a lot of different levels, both as it relates to training. So there's so many moving pieces, right? So there's the capacity to train our workforce. It's not just, we don't just go hire people, right? We've got to get them in the door, get them trained, get them grossed up and ready to go. Then there was a whole retention issue, and we spent I spent 2 years working on just the retention issue, which got largely addressed in the last contract. So that's yet another issue. What I would suggest is the following, because the time that these issues become most, I think, where the rubber meets the road is around budgeting. And, so in the context of looking at our budget and looking at our actual work plans, and then looking at how we staff and support and grow and do, it certainly would be useful for this board to have a very detailed, thoughtful review of these issues and thinking about, and I will certainly work with the department and commissioners to think about how we schedule the time for these conversations in an integrated and in-depth way. Because I know it's very difficult and very frustrating as they come up, sort of in the context of this issue or that issue or this contract. It doesn't really take us where we want to be, which is to understand how the department's planning, what support needs to be offered, who needs to be engaged in this process, and how we're supporting that plan. And then there's always the monitoring of it, so that we're not just talking about what we need to do, but we're actually tracking whether those things are in fact taking place so that we can have greater confidence in the long-term outcome. So, so we can certainly, begin that process first, order of business in the new year and make sure and that we are including that financial aspect or element to it. And Simon, that the training pieces are clear and clearly laid out, and all of the different factors that result in whether or not we can deploy resources in terms of our staff. And I think Eric mentioned the other pieces associated with that, which is equipment. We've got to be able to we've got to procure and be able to deploy the equipment that's necessary to support the staff. And so we're going to be looking for a presentation that covers, that comes at it from that sort of holistic perspective so that we can really understand what this looks like, how we're moving forward, and how we're calibrating as we are making this transition as well to right-sizing this organization so that it can take on and serve and meet the challenges that have been set for it. So does that work?
Perfect.
That works really well, I think.
Yeah, and I think perhaps doing the same thing on the water side for our, flag in the ground goal of 70% in basin by 2035 also. I mean, we're going to have the same questions. So really understanding across the organization how we're planning to meet these ambitious goals when it comes to equipment, training, staffing. I think this is so crucial in our figuring out this right balance of internal versus external capacity is so crucial in maintaining a healthy relationship with our labor partners. And
well, it is my hope that our labor partners will join the discussion.
Good. I was just going to suggest that. Yeah, I think that is so important that this isn't just a conversation with management, that we reach out to those labor partners and involve them in that. And I think that there is so much more that's going to put more and more pressure on us to get this right, in terms of what we have to do. So I look forward to that.
Terrific. Dr. Pickle.
There are a couple formal aspects in this process already. For contracting out, there's a charter provision that requires a specific cost-benefit analysis before you contract out. DWP in labor agreements called Appendix B tried to simplify that. It's questionable whether it simplified it or not, but it is the process they followed. And there was a specific analysis they did in terms of getting the okay from labor to do this, and that would require making available a certain amount of overtime in certain classes and other things. The estimated cost of the maximum estimated cost of that was $1.6 million, and given the fact that some classes are already tapped out on overtime already, the effective cost is likely much less than $1.6 million.
Yeah, I was encouraged by your cost analysis on this too, that this is within the...
It was their cost analysis, and it's just, the question is how many people are going to accept the overtime?
Well, I mean, your analysis of the sort of reasonableness of the price tag on this one was helpful.
It's one of the things we are required to declare, that we think this is a reasonable deal, and we think the labor agreement is reasonable.
Okay, thank you so very much, and I appreciate this conversation. But again, I am very sensitive to the Commission's desire to have a much more global and forward-looking understanding of how we're proceeding, so that we are not, dealing with these issues either retrospectively or in the context of any one particular contract and engagement. Mr. Montag, I know that this has been a heavy lift, and I appreciate the presentation here. And if there are no other questions, I'd like to move that we adopt L7.
Seconded.
Commissioner Katz? Commissioner Katz? President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. We'll now move to...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now move to L10, also called special by Commissioner McCraw.
I'd like to, presenting would be Mr. Shaheen Jahangard, and Carlos Jimenez of the Power System Generation Station Engineering Group.
I assume you want a full presentation on this as well, sir?
Actually, no, not on this
No.
one.
Okay.
You're off the hook unless someone else wants it.
No, I don't need a presentation.
Did you have a question?
I do. A question and a comment. I just visited Haynes Generating Station last week for a full day visit and just got to see up close how fragile these sort of balance of plant systems are. And how vital it is that we bring some of this expertise in so that we can react really quickly. And so I was excited to see that there was some knowledge transfer work happening here between, industry experts and our in-house engineers on, life management programs for heat recovery, steam generators, high energy piping systems, other balance of plant equipment. I think, the folks at Haynes really, impressed upon me that that's where all of our liabilities are in operating this plant is all in the balance of plant. And how important it is that we have people there that can respond quickly and effectively. I was wondering if you could, Mr. Jimenez and Mr. Jahangir, take us through, with a little more specificity than we got on the board letter, what those skills are that we're training up and bringing in-house and how they're going to allow us to be more effective in managing these plants.
Sure. Yeah, sure thing. Shaheen. Okay. Shaheen is the expert. He's managing this contract and the overall efforts. So, yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Good morning. Nice to be here with you all. So much like filtration plants and in line with making sure that nothing happens at our facilities, our generating facilities go through annual scheduled inspection and repair, which include non-destructive examination of welds in our high energy piping systems. As part of this process, we have found cracks in our welds, which we're required to repair, which we do repair. When you run into issues where you see repeated cracks, we need to have a game plan to be able to address that. And so we've partnered with industry experts to conduct these root cause analyses to be able to tell us where the problem areas are, how we can address these issues. And in parallel, we're hoping to be able to use their knowledge and expertise to train our engineering associates to be able to take on this analysis work in-house. So this is mostly an engineering knowledge transfer from industry experts.
That's really helpful. And what will that knowledge transfer to have sort of in our engineering associates? What will enable us to do?
We're hoping to be able to manage this life management program. So once we are able to develop it, then it would just be an ongoing process. Which sections of the piping systems do we need to look at? What kind of resources do we have, not just within engineering, but our power construction maintenance crews to be able to conduct NDE, non-destructive examination on these piping systems? And then if we see problem areas, how do we address them so that we're making sure that we're providing safe and reliable power to our customers?
And for these high energy piping systems, is it all sort of focused on our plants as they're currently configured, or does any of this factor into a potential switch to something like hydrogen in the future?
Currently, we're focusing on the plants as they are. Now, this could develop into something that we fine-tune to a facility that would have hydrogen, that would be capable of running on hydrogen. First at 30 and then incrementally increasing it to 100%.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
I just want to say that, in the public sector, we talk about knowledge transfer, and it's always, all the public sector terminology I always find very interesting. In the private sector, a lot of it is considered just professional development. And I am 100% supportive of you bring people into a company, and people go about doing their jobs on a regular basis, but making sure that we are taking the steps necessary to further develop and enhance skill sets and to make sure that all of our employees are growing and that their capacity is being expanded is all to the good of the department. And I'm just a big believer in doing as much of that as possible. I'm sad to say that I've not been to Haynes. It's one of the few places in our vast network of properties that I've not seen. And
That's a wow for me. That I've been somewhere that you haven't been. Wow.
So I both respect and am grateful that other commissioners have been there. I look forward to visiting and appreciate y'all taking the time to make this presentation today.
Yeah, I just want to add to this. We take knowledge transfer extremely seriously within Power System. We are hiring, staffing up, especially on the engineering class. And the time to train our engineers is much shorter these days compared to what we used to do 10 years ago or 15 years ago. For that reason, this type of contracts are extremely important. We don't intend to renew or have a contract of this sort in the future. Right. So that knowledge transfer and documentation, constant training of our employees is going to be extremely important.
No, and I recognize that the department is still recovering from that big gap in terms of both hiring and departures. That bubble's been sitting out there for some time, and we are now right in the wave of it, where we just do not have the people that are required to do all of the work that needs to be done. And, we recognize that. And we also recognize that it takes time and investment and training and support in order to get from this deficit to a place that we need to be. And certainly appreciate that with all of the challenges every day, the work is getting done out there. So appreciate what you're doing. If there are no additional questions or comments, is there a motion to approve L10?
I move to approve L10.
Second. Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. So we have a final item on the public agenda, and that is item L12.
Okay.
And sir, Mr. McCraw, are you looking for a presentation on this, or do you have questions?
I would like a presentation on this if possible.
Certainly.
So for item 12, we have Mr. Milad Tagavi, Director of Water Operating Division, coming to the podium.
Good afternoon, Madam President, honorable board members, and executive management. My name is Milad Tagavi, not Elsa Jimenez. So unfortunately, so I apologize for that. Hopefully, I could do this presentation with justice. The presentation is very simple, just one slide. And so basically, what you have in front of you for your consideration is purchase of property, which is ranges, and this is, by the way, highlighted in the red area, that the width of it belongs currently to Union Pacific Railroad Company. They no longer need that property, and as our efforts to protect our watershed and water resources, we generally try to purchase properties that may impact our watershed and take it out of potential development down the road. So this property is about 200 to 300 feet wide in certain locations. It's about 7 miles long. It comes down to 167 acres. I'm surprised it's only 3 digits. We usually like to go to 4 or 5 digits in terms of the accuracy, but it's about 167 acres. And we used a dollar amount of $1,275 that was recently purchased. That was a purchase price between Caltrans and Union Pacific to price this property, coming out to about $213,000. This property, as you could see, if I may start from the lower left, It crosses the, Owens River. Then it comes and touches our Tinnemaha Dam and Reservoir. Then, I don't know whether it could be seen over here. That is crosses Tinnemaha Creek. After that, there is another right in the middle over here is Birch Creek. And then down in here, it's the Fish Spring Hatchery Ditch. And lastly, it touches the Owens River at these locations. So this will enable us to basically purchase a property, maintain our watershed. We currently don't have any plans for development of this property, and we primarily took a look at it because we don't have any plans for development from the contaminations perspective and doing evaluations on the contamination.
Beautiful. Thank you for that additional detail. The reason I called this special and wanted to talk to you is because obviously this is, ancestral land for the Big Pine Tribe. I'm wondering what the provenance of the land was originally when the railroad company got a hold of it, if it was taken through eminent domain or something else, if it was originally part of the land transfer. Also, I'm wondering if we've consulted with our tribal partners in the region at all about our acquisition of this land. I think obviously this is a constant conversation we're having with our tribal partners around land there. And this is, an awkwardly shaped, but, in sort of total, a very large piece of land that we would be acquiring that is sort of theirs ancestrally. And so I wonder if we've considered anything around sort of environmental co-management of this with our tribal partners, or if we'd had any conversations about this or with them at all.
Generally, definitely as part of those going to be addressed if we have a project as part of a CEQA. There would be tribal consultations on the AB 52. The tribes generally do not identify sensitive areas to outsiders. So in order for us, for example, to do that, we will need to do archaeological survey to be able to find out. In terms of how railroad acquired it, Commissioner McCraw, I'm sorry, I don't have that information. We could definitely get back to you on that. But I'm assuming it's over 100 or so years old, if not more. If there is a project that we intend to do, and if there is anything, would be around Tinnemaha, because we're looking at improvements around the dam, then there would be a more detailed consultation with the tribe and input. In terms of the co-management of it and how that would look like, we definitely could explore that, but this was just simply to purchase the property, and those other conversations could take place if the board deems appropriate for us to purchase the property.
I appreciate that, Mr. Tagabi. I think my frustration comes from the fact that so often the department looks at its responsibility vis-a-vis our tribal partners as being restricted to an AB 52 process inside a CEQA, which I think if we're doing our job well, shouldn't be. Like, we should be proactively engaging our tribal partners, especially around sensitive things like land acquisitions, so that we can better the relationship with them, so that when we enter things like AB 52 negotiations or consultations, we have a base of relationship from which to work, which, as you know, especially with this tribe, Big Pine hasn't been a very healthy relationship. And this piece of land in particular touches the Fish Springs hatchery, which, we have all these sort of open conflicts with the tribe about, the water that the groundwater we're pumping out in that area, and whether or not it's flowing back into the groundwater table. And I think to approach, listen, this land is important to acquire. It's important to protect the watershed. I completely understand the sort of operational need for this. But to approach an acquisition of land in an area that's as sensitive as this and not have considered this, not have spoken to the tribes, that worries me. And I do think it shows that overall, across the department, we have sort of a blind spot here. The fact that we don't even know the original provenance, and that it's enough to just say, well, it happened 100 years ago. That tribe's been there for thousands of years. 100 years is a blip to them. It's not enough to say that this happened so long ago, and we don't, we need to know these things. I think in order to make informed decisions and to be good stewards ourselves of this land, And so I'm sorry for the tough words, but I'm a little frustrated by this.
I appreciate your comments, and it's taken to heart, and we will definitely will do better next time to be able to have answers regarding the questions and issues that you have raised.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments regarding this particular acquisition?
No, I guess I'll just second Commissioner McGraw's thoughts that I think we want to go beyond compliance and beyond CEQA and be thoughtful in engaging our tribal partners in potential partnerships. We've discussed this before, I think, at prior board meetings, but thinking about agreements and access and land use and how we might partner together. So I look forward to seeing that develop further. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that it would certainly be useful to have the commissioner work with the department staff that is, sort of routinely dealing with these issues. It is a lot to, it is sometimes difficult to fully understand what needs to change and how to change when one's perspective has been developed over years of, sort of standard operating processes. So there are all kinds of ways in which the department can and frankly has shifted its engagement practices with significant stakeholders that we serve and or that we collaborate or should collaborate with. And this is certainly an area where we can do better and should do better. I would simply say that, this is where board leadership can be really impactful. So I appreciate your raising the issue and would certainly encourage and invite you to work closely with staff on how we might go about doing this better moving forward than we have in the past. A lot of history to both acknowledge and then to address or redress as we seek to move forward and create different paths and different trajectory of our own. So with that, is there a motion to approve L12?
Motion to approve?
Second?
Commissioner Katz?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McGraw?
Aye.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Then I think that brings the public meeting to a close. Council, you have some comments to make as we move into closed session?
Yes, the board shall recess in closed session. After the closed session, the board will publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention thereon of every member present in accordance with California Government Code, Section 54957.1.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn into closed session.
Are we moving to the conference room?